Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaura Vani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavare Pashatya Desha Taline Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 18, The Residents of Jambudvip Offer Prayers. Text 14. Translation by His Divine Grace H.H.Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. Tasmad rajo raga visharamanyu Manas priha bayadainyadhi moolam Hitva griham sangsriti chakravalam Nrisingaparam bhajata kuto bhayamiti Tasmad rajo raga visharamanyu Manas priha bayadainyadi moolam Hitva griham sangsriti chakravalam Nrisingaparam bhajata kuto bhayamiti Tasmat rajo raga visharamanyu Manas priha bayadainyadi moolam Hitva griham sangsriti chakravalam Nrisingaparam bhajata kuto bhayamiti Vagriam sansriti chakravalam Nisingaparam bhajata kuto bhayamiti Tasmad rajo raga visharamanyu Manas priha bayadainyadi moolam Hitva griham sansriti chakravalam Nisingaparam bhajata kuto bhayamiti Vaishnavis Nisingha padam bhajata kuto vayam iti. Tasmad rajo raga vishada manyu. Manas priha bayadainyadi moolam. Hitvagriang sangsriti chakravalam. Nisingha padam bhajata kuto vayam iti. Tasmad. Therefore, rajaha, of passion or material desires. Raga, attachment for material things. Vishada, then disappointment. Manyu, anger. Manaspriha, the desire to be respectable in society. Bhaya, fear. Dainya, of poverty. Adimulam, the root cause. Hitva, giving up. Griham, household life. Sangsriti chakravalam, the cycle of repeated birth and death. Nrisingha padam, the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. Bhajata, worship. Akutak bhayam, the shelter of fearlessness. Iti, thus. Prahlad Maharaj is speaking to his subjects. He is the king. Therefore, O demons, give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadeva, which are the actual shelter of fearlessness. Entanglement in family life is the root cause of material attachment, indefatigable desires, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and the desire for false prestige, all of which result in the repetition of birth and death. You like that? You can confirm? Good. Hare Krishna. Om Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So this is the last verse of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. The chapter is the residents of Jambudvip offer their prayers, and there are different residents. The beginning with text number 7 actually. Prahlad Maharaj and the residents will speak, and because there's no purport to this one, we'll go quickly over the prayers, especially Om Namo Bhagavate Narasingaya Namaste Jastejasya Vira Virbhava Vajanaga Vajadangshta Karmashayan Randaya Randaya Tamogra Sagrasa Om Swaha Avayam Avayam Atmani Bhujishta Om Shraum. Before that, Shukadeva Goswami, he is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, and he tells him, my dear king, Lord Nrsingadev resides in the tract of land known as Harivarsha. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I shall describe to you how Prahlad Maharaj caused the Lord to assume the form of Nrsingadev. Prahlad Maharaj, the topmost devotee of the Lord, is a reservoir of all the good qualities of great personalities. his character and activities have delivered all the fallen members of his demoniac family. Lord Nrsingadev is very dear to this exalted personality. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj, along with his servants and all the denizens of Harivarsha, worships Lord Nrsingadev by chanting the following mantra. And that's the mantra we just quoted, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. The translation is, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsingadeva, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. And Srila Prabhupada, at the end of the purport, very wonderful purport, he says that any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer his respectful prayers to Nrsingadev as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. So then, Sri Prahlad Maharaj, he continues to offer prayers. I will read the next one, which is very beautiful also. This mood of the devotee who wants to benefit all the living entities. He says, may there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thoughts of Him. And then he will speak, he will say, he prays in the name of all the other residents, and he says in the next verse that we pray that we may never feel attraction for the prison of family life, consisting of home, wife, children, friends, bank balance, etc. And then he speaks about associating with devotees, by which the contamination in the heart will become eliminated. Then comes the verse we heard, very famous verse. Srimati Lakshmi Moni talked about this, how the good qualities are manifest in anybody who does that, who surrenders unto the Lord, and who other people, although materially they may be very qualified, actually all these so-called good qualities become negative, like the jewel, right, on the hood of a serpent. It's a jewel, no doubt, and it's probably very valuable, could be most valuable, but because it's on the hood of a serpent, very dangerous. Then, yesterday, we heard from Kavichandra Maharaj, also very nice verse, how they, those who remain in the vast existence of the Lord, they are sheltered, and those who fail to do so, they lose all good spiritual qualities, it says. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. He may have qualities, but they become lost. And now today, this is like the conclusion. Therefore, tasmat, now the conclusion is therefore, and he talks to his residents who are demons. O demons, therefore, O demons, give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev, which are the actual shelter of fearlessness, which is like completing the circle. He spoke in that Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. He says that, please Nisingadev, my dear Lord, appear in our hearts so that ignorance is driven away, and by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence. So the lotus feet of the Lord, Abhay Charanaravinda, they are the abode of fearlessness. And on the other hand, if you don't do this, then the entanglement in material life has a lot of consequences. He gives a list. These are not all of the things that it may appear, but they're for sure these will appear, and it's like a tree. You have branches and sub-branches and smaller twigs and leaves and all kinds of things. So the root cause is family life, or you could say a comfortable life in the material world, trying to enjoy different objects of this material nature, and then there are some consequences. First of all, material attachment, then indefatigable desires. What is indefatigable? They are not never defeated? Or you never fatigue, you go on and on and on. You never get tired because they're never satisfied, right? Okay. Desires that are they never sleep. Like this city never sleeps, right? Who sang this? Frank Sinatra? This New York, the city that never sleeps, and you want to be on the top of the heap, the big heap of all the residents, so many millions of people, and I want to be on top in a city that never sleeps. Indefatigable desires, moroseness. Oh my God, you had so many nice desires and then you become morose, angry, despair, fear, and the desire for false prestige, all of which have another consequence: repeated birth and death. So, not recommended. Now, what I find remarkable, and this is Prahlad Maharaj's, I would say, special characteristic. Whenever he preaches to the demons. Thought about that? First of all, he talks to his father. Right? His father asks him, what's the best thing you have learned? Manyate sadhu bhavan. He went to school, so Hiranyakashipu, like any father, takes the boy. So, you tell me, what's the best thing you have learned? And then Prahlad Maharaj, Tat sadhu manye asura varya dehinam. Prabhupada says he doesn't address his father as father. He says, Asuya varya. You are the emblem, the exalted crown jewel of the demons. Asurya Varya, best of the demons. But then he tells him something that Hiranyakashipu becomes like, completely stunned, angry, because he didn't expect his son to tell him that actually you are in the wrong position. Hitvatma patvam griyamanda kupam. You're in a place, atma patram, where spiritual life is stopped, he says. But before that, he speaks about things that are mentioned in these verses also. Dehinam sada samudvigna diya asatkrahat. That anybody who has a material body, what's the result of that? Sada samudvigna, always in anxiety. Bhaya. Prabhupada says, bhaya, fear, is the accompanying factor in the material world. No matter where you live, what kind of body you have, what material circumstances you may have, you may even become the king of the universe. Still, samudvigna, you're in anxiety. Asatkrahat, because you have accepted something temporary as real. And because it's temporary, it will not last. And there's always this anxiety. At any time, this situation can change, and not necessarily for the better. So he speaks about that to his father. Then later on, he will speak to his classmates, and he basically will say the same thing. He will give the whole chapter of instructions on how, he tells, my dear friends, sons of the demons, give up this life of your fathers and grandfathers, of your dynasty. It's useless. You're wasting your time. And then here, this is actually later on. Bhagavatam is not chronological. So after Nrsingadev has appeared and Hiranyakashipu is killed, then Prahlad Maharaj is enthroned as the king of the world. Not just this world, the whole material world, Srila Prabhupada says. And it's in the verse, Brahma and Shukracharya, they put him on the throne, and he rules as the king of the Daityas and Danavas. And this must be later, because here he is now the leader in Harivarsha of the denizens, and he is offering prayers to the Lord, and he's basically saying the same thing, and he is addressing again the demons. Therefore, O demons, give up this so-called beautiful life in this material world. And that's apparently a very important instruction. Otherwise, why would he repeat it? Whoever he talks to, that's what he's talking about. And especially if you think, Manyate sadhu bhavan, what's the best thing you have learned? Now one might expect some other answer, like prema pumarta mahan, right? To develop love of Godhead is the highest goal of human life, which of course it is. But depending on your position, imagine that Prahlad Maharaj would tell his father, you know, the king of the demons, prema pumarta mahan. No. First thing first. First of all, you have to understand your position. You think is so wonderful. You are on the heap, on the top of the heap, right? Everybody else in the universe is offering you obeisances. That's what happened. He conquered the planet, all the planetary systems. He's sitting in the palace of Indra. All the demigods have fled away, right? They were hiding, and they were praying to the Lord, you have to do something. You know, this demon is so powerful, nobody can, even all of us, we have to go and offer obeisances, our tribute. Otherwise, he'll give us trouble. So, therefore, the first thing Prahlad Maharaj tells his father, this is Maya. You think you are the success, you have become the greatest ruler, but actually you are in a wrong place. Atma patam. You're in a place where spiritual life is zero. You are in a andakupam, you're in a dark well, and therefore you should get out. Vanangato yat dharim ashrayeta. You should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Go to the forest, go to Vrindavan. So that's his preaching, which is very remarkable. And so therefore, of course, all these prayers and instructions that are given, ultimately they're for our benefit. So if in some way or another we can see our position somewhere there, we should take these instructions to heart and become convinced that this is actually a fact. Although Maya will try to convince us, not yet, maybe later on. But as we see, when Prahlad Maharaj talks to his classmates, Kaumara pragya. If you're really intelligent, then from the beginning of Kaumara age, which means very young, 5-6 years old, Bhagavatam Dharma, you should start to think about and cultivate Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Dharma. Why? Because Manusya Janmana Durlabha. This human form of life is very rare. Not only that, it's adruvam. It's temporary. But he says, although it's temporary, it can give you the highest benefit. But the problem with temporary is that nobody knows when it will end. It can end at any time. And I think all of us, either we have direct experience, or we know somebody, or we can read it or hear it in the news, that there are persons in this material world who die at a young age. They don't have to become old. Old is very relative. Somebody who may be 6, 7 years old, he may be older than us, heading towards 70. Maharaj, are you heading towards 70 soon? Yes. So we are supposed to be old. But somebody who may be 7 years, not 70, he may be older. Because at 8, he'll leave his body within 1 year. While probably Karichandra Maharaj, he'll go on for another 20, 30 years. Why not? That's not up to us, but it can end at any time. So that's what Prahlad Maharaj is pointing out. He said, because you don't know when this point will come, therefore, better to immediately do something about your situation. So when you're young, he talks about his classmates, you try to cultivate Krishna consciousness now, not later on. And if you are already later on, if you are in that position like Hiranyakashipu, then give it up. It's time to give up, at least after 50. That's the idea. That's the general idea. And it may be 60, 65. Not more. That's not so recommended. Because time is flying by, and then our faculties will become less, and it will become more and more difficult to actually take that step that we should also remember. Therefore, like King Kulashekar, he's praying actually that may I give up the body now when still my mind is in good shape, I can think of you, and I'm not embarrassed by all kinds of physical impediments and difficulties. My voice may even not be able to pronounce your name. So now I'm in a good position, so maybe now it's a good time to leave the body. That's what his prayer was. But anyway, the point is clear that one has to develop the desire to get out of this situation. Actually, in the beginning of this chapter, there are other residents, and surprisingly, they have a very similar prayer. So we can also conclude from this, whoever has a little bit of spiritual vision, they come to the same conclusion, right? So these are prayers by the son of Dharmaraj, Bhadrashrava. And he's saying something that it may sound familiar. How wonderful is it that the foolish materialist does not heed the great danger of impending death? Like when Dharmaraj tested Yudhishthira and asked him, what is the most wonderful thing? And he gave a similar answer. That everybody sees others dying, and he thinks, well, that will not happen to me. So that means a foolish materialist does not see the danger of impending death, although he sees it. Apashya na pashyati. You see it, but you don't see. That's very wonderful, very surprising. So he knows that death will surely come, no doubt. Yet he nevertheless is callous and neglectful. If his father dies, he wants to enjoy his father's property. Not only that, if his son dies, he wants to enjoy his son's possessions as well. And if the wife dies, get the wife's possessions. And if some distant relative dies, as sometimes happens, some unknown uncle in America, for the Europeans, that was always a dream. I have an unknown uncle in America, and he made a fortune, and it's all for me. And he died, and now I'm a millionaire. So that's, in either case, he heedlessly tries to enjoy material happiness with the acquired money. And it means he just forgets about this impending danger, completely illusioned, and it's vichitram, something wonderful. I said, how is it possible? Yes, it is possible. If it happens, you will see. As soon as you touch a lot of money, immediately you become covered. And now I'm on the top of the heap. Now I can enjoy this material world. It's easy to become detached if you're poor. Well, what about becoming detached if you get a lot of inheritance from a deceased father or son or uncle or whatever? That's the test. Who will continue to live a simple life in an ashram if every month $10,000 enter his bank account? Question to all the brahmacharis. You don't have anything, so therefore, no problem. Detached. Now, imagine you get 1 crore rupee every month in your bank account. How will your life change? Or will it not change? You give it all to the TOVP. Maybe. Maybe not. So you can test yourself. What will I do if every month I will get a lot of money in my hands? How will my life change? What will you do? Give it all to the TOVP. Okay, I think we have a little time for questions or comments by the assembled sages. I think this works. Yes. They're all shocked, thinking, what will I do with 1 crore of rupees every month? You have an answer? What will you do with 1 crore of rupees? Or what is your currency? Rubles? Or euros? Dollars. Dollar is useless. But even $1 million every month is not a bad thing.
This verse is talking about renunciation and rejecting family life and all that. Can you balance the point and say something about what's false renunciation? And how
acoustically, I didn't get it 100%. What is it?
Talking about renouncing and giving up family life and so on.
Okay, yeah.
Can you balance the point out and speak about false renunciation and using things in Christian service?
Oh, yes. Well, I think I don't want to. I can speak with some so-called authority. I've been in family life for 32 years. But now not anymore, as you can see. But it's only possible if you have a good wife. And that's a lottery in Kali Yuga. I was lucky. I drove how you say, in Spain they say El Gordo, the big one. You hit the jackpot, right? That's how you say it. You hit the jackpot. I hit the jackpot. I was very lucky. Very wonderful wife, good Vaishnavi. And 4 children, so I went through the whole thing. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and finally sannyas. And looking back, of course, one can talk negatively about family life, but actually good family, unfortunately, is very rare in Kali Yuga, and it's the nucleus of a good society. If there's no good family, you will not have good offspring, and you will have not the future society that we can see is getting worse and worse and worse. At least that's my perception. I thought we were bad, the 60s children, teenager in the 60s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We thought, well, this is pretty bad. At least when we joined finally and we looked back, said, wow, this is going fast to hell. Now that's 40-something years ago, 45 years ago. Now this is now much worse. Isn't it, Mara? Much worse. It's unimaginable. Even my daughter tells me, she's 30. She said, you cannot even imagine how the ones now that are 15, for her it's like, another generation, or 13, they're doing all the things that we used to do when we were 20 or 25. It's becoming so degraded. So to have a good family, a stable family, where the parents are together, not single parents, households, or patchwork, 2 from a previous marriage, 3 from the previous to the previous marriage, and he brings another 3, and then they have 2 more, and it's like a dozen, and who are you? you know. Oh, I'm your half-brother. Oh yeah, really? What's your name? So this is Kali Yuga. How many families stay together and actually have a Krishna conscious atmosphere in their home? That's very rare. But that's the foundation of a good society. And then, of course, there has to be Krishna consciousness. The best example is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, no doubt about it. You study his songs, you will see how he feels. What's the mood to have a successful family life? To consider all the family members actually as servants of the Lord. And you are watching over them, helping them, protecting them in the name of the Lord. You know they're not mine. I'm just being here, I'm conducting your household in your name, basically. Manasa deha geya, yokichumo. Mind, home, body, whatever I may have, kichu, whatever small thing I may have, arpilun tuvapare Nanda Kishore. I offer at your lotus feet. So, a good, successful family life is only possible when there's a desire to become Krishna conscious. Although simultaneously, yes, there may be these material desires, to have children, for example, to have certain comforts, but that one should know should not go until one drops dead. It's very important that there's a clear vision of progressing toward detachment. And that's also only possible if both husband and wife have the same vision. Therefore, this compatibility of different ganas was important. If she, or let's say he's a Rakshasa gana, she's Deva gana, she wants to become pure devotee and, you know, follow the process, and he's a rascal. Disaster. Recipe for disaster. Vice versa, the same thing. He wants to be, you know, follow Guru, practice Krishna consciousness, and she just wants to get more and more and more and more and don't care about rules and regulations and this and that. Then how can it work? Now if two of those get together, okay, let them enjoy until they drop dead, practically speaking. Maybe Krishna will make some arrangement, make them suffer so much that, you know, they wake up. So get two bad ones together or get two good ones together, but don't get a good one and a bad one together. That's not recommended. So that starts before entering household life. It has to be on the same level. That's the ideal thing. Like if you read third canto, Kardama Muni and Devahuti, that's Prabhupada's how he explains it. That the qualities, the mood, the mentality, the bhav, they should be similar. If it's too much difference, it will not work. It's a matter of time, it will break up. And then you have all these small children in the middle and the whole, you know, disaster. So let's get two Rakshasas together, great. Or two Manushas or two Devas. But not a Deva and a Rakshasa. That's, unless you're a Prahlad Maharaj. You can be son of a demon and be a great devotee. But that's very rare. Generally that doesn't work like that. So, but at any rate, I repeat, you know, the point is that even though there may be these material desires which are not so easy to overcome, but at least in one's heart, there should be also the desire to at one day overcome this situation and let it go. You understand? It's very important. This verse that was quoted by Lakshmi Muni, which is 11th canto, Krishna speaking to Uddhava, chapter 20, verses 27, 28. Where Krishna, he tells him that, but actually in the beginning it's Jata Shraddho Katasumam. The first condition is somebody has really faith in Krishna. At the same time, he knows that material activity results in suffering. He knows that. He doesn't invent a new philosophy. That's the danger. Oh, it's Kali Yuga, what can we do? Don't be a fanatic. A little sex here, a little drug there. What's the point? The important thing is to feel Radhe Radhe, love in your heart. All these other things are not very important. That's bogus. That's bogus. You understand the philosophy that yes, material life, no matter where, what, and how, is not desirable. It should be given up. Now at the same time, and that's Krishna's point, there are old habits. There may be circumstances, and you can't come up to the mark. You fall down. You engage in some sanctification. But now, how do you think after that? Or even during it happens, you really regret it. You think, again, couldn't make it, but I'll work on it. You don't invent this bogus philosophy that it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's not important. It is important. So that's important. That's important. If you have that in mind, then you may go through your family life. And you have a car, and you have a nice house, and you have this, and you have that. But you should know, at some point, I should leave it behind. Not make it even nicer, or get more. That's how a material world is. Even if you're old, you want to get more and more and more, right? And if it doesn't work anymore, get Viagra, doesn't matter. Like Hugh Hefner. Instead of having a dozen women, now he has only 2. He's getting, renounced. By force. He's 86 years old. Now instead of a dozen, he can only play around with 2 bunnies. Forced renunciation. But his mind actually thinks, if I could have a dozen, that would be, not a dozen, 2 dozen. We want to increase, right? But material nature will not allow. So that kind of mentality will for sure result in another birth. And that we should understand. As long as this mentality is there, you are sure to get another material body. And that's not desirable. If you don't understand that, then you have a problem. Unless we understand that a material body is not desirable, no matter where you get it, whether in a higher planet, or with the Nagas, with a jewel on your head, or wherever you go, it's not desirable. Once you know that, then you work on that. And even if there's some difficulty, then Krishna understands. He said, don't become depressed. That is an important point. Priti, kripalayu. You continue, you have faith that I will be able, by the mercy of the Lord, I will be able to overcome. And of course, family life will help such a person. Don't become artificially, just by some mental understanding, yes, this is all bad, and then you leave your wife and you leave the small children and you go to the forest and then you meet Menaka. Krishna will, or Indra will make some arrangement. He will send you some, or 1 or 2 or a dozen apsaras, and then you're finished. And then you enter another degraded phase of your life. No. You go through it, be responsible, and then it's natural. If you cultivate simultaneously transcendental knowledge, then after 30, 25, 30, maybe 35, 40 years, it's time. Children should be grown up, daughters married, then natural. Not a big deal. Shouldn't be a big deal. That's the natural, way of Vedic life. So you still have some time. But, don't forget it. It has to be cultivated. And hearing these verses and these prayers will help us. Prahlad Maharaj is a family man. But he speaks like that. So that's, not to be forgotten. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, family man, big family. You study his songs, you will be surprised how he speaks about his experience. And for our benefit, of course. So I think I'm 1 minute off the end. We had one there. You were first, actually. Still? Somebody there? Wait.
Your Holiness, thank you very much for enlightening us. I have a question. That is from Srimad Bhagavatam, we learned that a devotee never prays to die.
Never prays to lie? What do you mean?
He never prays to die.
To die?
To leave his body. Rather, in one of his prayers says that a devotee prays that, Lord, let me live a little longer so that I can cultivate my pure devotional service, so that when I attain your association, I am not embarrassed. So in the same way, could you clarify, because in Kulshekar's prayer which you quoted, Kulshekar is, I think, not praying for dying. He's praying that, let me become fully absorbed in you.
Yeah, but the idea is that now I am, in good shape. I mean, my mental condition, everything is favorable to remembering you. And he expresses in that prayer that, I think the prayer is that I, leave now and become Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, instead of being in a situation where my voice is choked and my mind may become, is not capable of remembering. So that's how I understand it. Maybe I got it wrong, but that's my understanding of the prayer. We would have to look it up, what he actually says exactly.
It says, let my mind be absorbed in lotus feet or in your lotus feet. It doesn't pray for dying.
Prabhupada always translated it, let me die.
Huh?
Prabhupada translated it many times, let me die now.
Well, that's what I understood.
That's what
But anyway, it doesn't,
Prabhupada would spontaneously recite that prayer. Any time it suddenly come out.
But anyway, he leaves it up to Krishna. He doesn't commit suicide. I mean,
Let me have the good consciousness.
Yeah. Marobi Rakobi, yo icho tohar. You can kill me, you can maintain me as you like. So actually a devotee, he leaves it up to the Lord. And in that case, he may say, well, now it's actually a good time, so if you want, why don't you take me? Now, if you don't, well, hopefully you will help me when the time comes, and, and Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna will help. Even if for some reason you have some difficulty, Krishna will enter in your mind, in your heart, and if you don't remember him, he'll remember you. So there's no loss. So I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.